If there's one takeaway from Nike's historic new deal with Colin Kaepernick, it's this. In a divided world, Nike knows that straying out of politics isn't a way to keep your business humming, it's actually how you lose. There's a common urban legend that Michael Jordan once said Republicans buy sneakers too, to explain his personal lack of political activism. Now, even though there isn't a single clip of him ever saying such a thing, and almost zero proof he ever did, as the years have gone along and the idea of being an apolitical public figure has grown more and more impossible, the quote has stuck to Jordan as tightly as Be Like Mike. And I'll say, the quote, made up or not, feels today like it comes from an entirely different universe. Like everything, a relic of a world when the shoe company's only goal was simply to sell shoes. But now Nike, at the start of a new NFL season, has made Colin Kaepernick the face of its new marketing campaign, the 30th anniversary of its Just Do It campaign, no less, firmly sticking its foot right in the middle of the hottest issue in sports today. In the same way that riding the middle and being all things to all people is no longer feasible in politics, trying to pretend that shoes, or more accurately, the marketing juggernaut behind said shoes, can be apolitical in the year 2018 is a fool's errand. In this environment, Nike's move is simple. You can even argue there's basically no downside. Look at how they've covered their bases. They are such a fundamental part of professional and amateur sports that most organizations and customers couldn't live without them even if they wanted to. And sure, while a small number of people might actively refuse to buy Nike gear now, their number is low and offset by the number of Kaepernick-branded items that are being sold. As of September 24th, Nike's stock had risen 5% since the day they announced they had brought Kaepernick aboard. Perhaps most vitally, Nike is betting on the future rather than the past. Even a cursory look at history shows that people like Kaepernick have grown in stature as the years go along, rather than decline. Put it this way, when you look at the people in charge of the NFL, a gaggle of old, rich white men, why in the world would they be the people that you would bet on? Listen, the NFL is a big deal in the United States, and it's certainly a big deal for the president, who keeps poking at it like it's a wounded rodent on the side of the road. But as far as Nike is concerned, the NFL is just another client, and one that's about a third of the size of Nike itself. That gives Nike enormous power in any fight. And rather than be tugged to and fro by world events and politics, Nike is getting out in front of it all. They have realized it is better to pick a side, even one that might, theoretically, upset a percentage of your customers and, temporarily, hurt your sales, than pretend you can stay out of the fray entirely. All that said, Nike is, to say the least, an unusual leader of the resistance, giving their own long list of controversies. How little they pay their assembly line workers, to how cruel some of their factory conditions are, to how they've settled countless racial discrimination suits, and so on. But Nike is still the biggest name in sports marketing, building a campaign around the most polarizing figure in all of sports. One can appreciate the historic import of Kaepernick's elevation without necessarily giving a blanket endorsement to the company itself. But look at me using big phrases like historic import when referring to a marketing deal between an athlete and a brand. This is one of those sports moments that doesn't actually have anything to do with sports at all. 25 years ago, during the days of Jordan's supposed slogan that Republicans buy sneakers too, it was cost efficient for Nike to stay out of politics. Today, it is cost efficient for Nike to wade into politics, a decision that would have seemed absurd not long ago, but is frankly a logical response to our insane current culture. Nike doesn't care about Colin Kaepernick or politics any more than it did a decade ago. It just benefits them to look like they are. Now, this is not a slight to Kaepernick. This is a man who has given away millions of dollars in his career, not to mention that career itself, for his political beliefs. You shouldn't blame him for embracing Nike any more or less than you should blame any other athlete. But Nike is simply doing Nike. If in 15 years the winds change, they'll just blow back in the other direction. Their bet is that they won't have to. And as someone who believes that maybe America should be a place where people should not be blackballed from their industry for their political beliefs, I am hopeful their bet will pay off. That they've even made it is encouraging. I guess having a giant corporation having faith that things will be better in the future counts as optimism these days.